Hi there, everyone. Barron Angell, Librarian here at the Florida Public Library, bringing you another board game demo from our Library of Things. Helping me out today is our Sunday clerk, Beth Pskowski, and today we're going to take a look at the game Disney Villainous. As you might imagine from the title, this is a game where you get to play as your favorite Disney villains, with the goal being to complete your specific evil aims before your competitors can do the same. Thank you for a sec. Alright, now, this is the base game of Villainous, and in this game, there are 6 villains to choose from, and they include Ursula from The Little Mermaid. What is the, this way. We have Prince John from Robin Hood, one of the less commonly known villains. We have Captain Hook from Peter Pan. We have Jafar from Aladdin. We have the Queen of Hearts from Alice in Wonderland. And of course, no base game of villains would be complete without the Mistress of all evil, Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Now, each player in the game will select one of these villains who they will portray, for lack of a better term, throughout the course of the game. Each villain has their own unique goals that they are trying to achieve. To do this, each villain has their own game board that their player will participate with. For example, didn't drop that. For example, let's use, let's see. I'm going to use Jafar because Aladdin's one of my favorite movies. So, as you can see here, each villain has their own game board with locations that you'll recognize from their respective movie. On the left side of the board is your villain's specific objective. In the case of Jafar, it's to start your turn with the magic lamp at the Sultan's palace with the genie under your control. Now, once you have your game board out, you'll be using your playing piece to move through the different areas of your realm. And as you can see, there's icons here on the board, and those icons determine what actions you can do on your turn depending on where you are. These actions can range from being able to put a card down on the board, activate a card that's already on the board, move cards around the board, gain power from the power cauldron that you would need in order to play those cards, or taking other actions that might sabotage your opponents. The key strategy is, of course, balancing the number of actions you use to help yourself versus keeping an eye on your opponents and what they are trying to do, and determining when it's better to potentially sacrifice a chance to advance your own goals in order to sabotage your enemies. Now, each villain has 2 decks of cards, and again, we'll keep using Jafar as an example. The deck with a colored background is the villain deck. These cards will aid your specific villain in achieving their nefarious means. Whereas the white colored deck is what's called a fate deck. And this is the deck that other players will try to use to sabotage you. It's also worth noting that as you're playing, each villain has one of these handy villain guides that gives you tips and tricks on how to complete your goals and what you should do and how certain special cards in your deck work. So that can really help if you're not familiar with how to play a particular villain. This will give you some ideas of how best to do that. The fun of the game is you can play it over and over again and try to master all the different villains in the game. So, in the villain deck, you might see a card, for example, like this. This is called a Snake Am I. And this lets you defeat a hero in a location. Where would there be a hero? Well, heroes would show up in the Fate deck. Cards in the Fate deck might include, for example, this is Jafar's deck, so it might include Aladdin. You might be able to summon Aladdin and put him at a location in Jafar's realm and use him to sabotage Jafar's plans. And that works one of 2 ways. If you play a hero card, they will go on a slot here in the location that you choose to place them on your opponent's board. And when that happens, you're blocking off 2 possible actions that they can take if they go to that location. Additionally, the cards themselves have effects and abilities that might hinder your opponent. In the case of Aladdin, when he is played, you can choose an item at the location and attach it to Aladdin, and Jafar cannot use that item. So for example, if the magic lamp were on the board, you could attach it to Aladdin, and then Jafar can't use it until you dispatch Aladdin. The only way to dispatch a hero that is plaguing you is by using an ally card. In the case of Jafar, of course, your ally would be Iago the Parrot, primarily. He's in here somewhere. Where is he? Oh, come on, I know he's in here. Oh, or an alternate option that you have here is, for example, you might remember the character of Gazim, who is at the early beginning of the movie. Jafar tried to use him to go to the Cave of Wonders at first, but he was not worthy. So he's in here as well. So there are some different allies that you can use. So what you would need to do is get an ally card. This is a sample. This is not an actual ally. At the same place on your field, and then use it to vanquish the hero, using the proper vanquish action once you have it available. Now, the cards in your villain deck oftentimes can let you do a variety of things. For example, if another player has 3 or more allies in their realm, you can play Manipulation, this card, to take any card from your discard pile and put it in your hand, to give you back a card that you could use. You can also play items such as the giant hourglass. You may remember that Jafar imprisoned Jasmine in this during the climax of the movie where he had control of the genie and had taken over Agrabah. In this case, heroes in the location lose 2 strength, which makes them easier to defeat if they try to come at you in that location. Things like that. So there's a wide array of different cards that can both help you in your deck and hinder you in the Fate deck, which your opponents could draw if they use the Fate icon on their board. They can pick whichever villain they like to draw a Fate card and attach it to that villain.
All Fate cards go up here?
Correct. Fate cards would always go on the top of your board and your cards on the bottom. It's worth noting that there is a Fate token, which simply indicates who last received a Fate card, and they cannot be the next one to receive it, just so somebody doesn't get piled on and keep receiving Fate cards in a row. Just to even things up a little bit. What's also unique is that there, depending on your villain, there are certain locations that may be locked. For example, you can see there's a lock icon here on the Cave of Wonders. And there is also a lock token in here that would go on that. If an area is locked, you might need to collect a special card, a special item, or meet a special requirement in order to unlock that location, which more often than not you'll need in order to complete that particular villain's goal, such as Jafar unlocking the Cave of Wonders, which is the only way to get the magic lamp into play in order to use it to complete the nefarious goals. And the goals greatly vary from character to character. Jafar's habits to be to collect an item and get control of something, but you might also have the Queen of Hearts. You can see her locations are in Wonderland, and her goal is to have a wicket at each location and successfully take a shot. Because if you've seen Alice in Wonderland, she's very big on the game croquet. So that's her goal. And again, the action icons are the same against on all the different villain locations. So it's just a matter of they're placed differently, but all the icons always mean the same thing. So that's another key, is if you're playing a villain you're not used to, then you've got to watch where the different icons are, because it will be different than other villains you've played, and that could affect your strategy of where you want to move and how you want to use your actions, and also what you would lose if you end up with an enemy card blocking something from your area. In the case of Ursula, the sea witch from The Little Mermaid, of course, her locations are from that movie. Her goal is to start her turn with the trident and the crown, of course, of King Triton, at Ursula's lair, so that she can, of course, take over and rule the seas. Prince John is a unique one, and I think he was probably chosen for the game for this reason, even though he's one of those lesser-known villains. His goal is to simply start your turn with at least 20 power. Because if you've seen Robin Hood, of course, Prince John's goal was just to take everybody's gold and be rich because he was a jerk.
Greedy.
Right. We also have here Captain Hook. His goal is to defeat Peter Pan. So his goal happens to involve defeating a particular hero as opposed to simply collecting an item or controlling something. So in his case, you would need to unlock Hangman's Tree in order to get access to an item you need, and then you would try to get the Peter Pan hero on the board, move him to the Jolly Roger, and then vanquish him using one of your allies. In the case of Captain Hook, that would probably be Mr. Smee, or possibly another pirate. And of course, last but not least, the mistress of all evil, Maleficent. She was all about trying to basically curse everybody, whether it was to imprison things in vines, or put people to sleep forever, or what have you. So her goal is to start her turn with a curse in each location. So she has a wide variety of different curse cards in her deck that she can play on the field and move around. And her goal is to have a curse in each area, but there are certain things that make that more difficult, such as one type of curse automatically disappearing if you move to the location where it is, or things like that. So the goals are very different, and depending on which villain you choose will completely alter your strategy for how you want to win or what you might do. There are also other unique tidbits to the different villains that might affect your playstyle. One of the ones, when I tried this, that kind of surprised me was Ursula the Sea Witch, because unlike some of the other villains, Ursula cannot directly vanquish any heroes. She has Flotsam and Jetsam, yes, but she can't directly vanquish heroes. The only way Ursula can vanquish heroes is using her contracts. You might remember in the movie, she made Ariel sign a contract in order to gain legs so she could go to land in order to be with Prince Eric. Well, there are 4 different contract cards in her deck, and multiples of them, and the only way to defeat a hero is to bind a contract to them and then move that hero to a certain location, which will trigger the contract and defeat them. So that makes it a little bit more difficult to vanquish characters on Ursula's board, but also gives her a unique mechanic for getting rid of them. And you'll see those unique things in the decks and abilities of all the different villains. So it's really a completely different game every time you play because of how different and unique these villains are, even though the base actions and the base concept is the same. And each villain's deck does come with their trademark color. Maleficent is in green, Ursula's in purple, Queen of Hearts is in red, Prince John is sort of a brownish tan color there, Captain Hook has a different shade, almost more of a magenta-ish purple there, and as you saw, of course, Jafar's are in black. So very, very cool. And just a really fun all-around game. You only need up to 2 people to play it, but you can play with up to all 6, however many you want. And it's just a lot of fun getting to play around with the different villains, see the cards from all your favorite heroes in Disney movies. It's just a good time to be had by all. One last detail worth noting is you might be looking at the game and saying to yourself, well, wait a minute, this looks like a fun game, but I don't see my favorite Disney villain here that I might want to play as. I'm a little concerned about this. Well, there are 3 expansion packs to this game. We don't have them yet, but if this game goes out, then we might be able to pick those up. Those include the Wicked to the Core set, which includes the Evil Queen from Snow White, Dr. Facilier from The Princess and the Frog, and Hades from Hercules. There's Evil Comes Prepared, which includes Scar from The Lion King, Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove, and Dr. Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective. Very underrated movie, in my opinion. And also the Perfectly Wretched set, which includes Cruella de Vil, Mother Gothel from Tangled, and the original Disney villain, Pete, in his Captain Pete form from the first ever Mickey Mouse cartoon, Steamboat Willie. So, lots of other cool villains out there. And they've even started expanding this franchise. They've recently released a Marvel Villainous, which bases on Thanos and different Marvel villains, which is a lot of fun too. But right now we have the base Disney Villainous game here, and you're encouraged to come check it out as part of our library of things. And if it starts going out a lot, or we hear positive feedback from everybody, we could pick up some of those expansion packs. And then you could, once you have the expansion packs, they can each be played by themselves because you have multiple villains. Or you could combine them with villains from the other packs or the main game and mix and match however you like. So that's quite a bit of fun. And if you happen to have all of them, well, that would be crazy because then you'd have like, 9 and 6, so like 15 villains, which I don't necessarily recommend playing with 15 people at a time. That would be a very long game, but you could do it. So, any questions?
I don't think so. I think I just gotta play it.
Yeah.
And figure it out.
So, come and let us know if you want to check this out. It's in our library of things. You can give us a call to reserve it if you like, or just ask us for it when you get here. We'll be happy to provide it. And just as a note, all of our board games are currently being quarantined upon checkout and return, so don't worry, everything is clean and playable and should be good to go. And we'll see you next time for the next board game demo.